What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Think Tank edition this time. Toby was nice enough to let me step in and take a swing at the think tank because this is something that I have been pondering for a while now, given the position that the Atlanta Falcons find themselves in, right? And what I mean by that is this year we are drafting number 4 overall, and we find ourselves at somewhat of a crossroads with one Matt Ryan. So a vast majority of the fan base is really wanting us to take a quarterback with number 4, citing that we don't know when we're going to be here again. You see what I'm saying? So with that, I got to really thinking about how has the landscape of drafting quarterbacks over the last 20 years really shaken out? And is it something that we need to be focused on this year, or hyper-focused on this year, I guess you could say, with the position that we find ourselves in? So without further ado, I'm going to do something that I've been talking about past few weeks. Y'all may have heard me say it on air, in videos, what have you. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of numbers and a whole bunch of stats that prove a particular point. Okay? Now, before we get into that, I'm going to give you my bias, right? I always tell y'all that when you're interacting with folks on Twitter, when you're interacting with creators on YouTube, what have you, do what you can to figure out what their bias is or what their angle is. My angle, full on, reason why I put it on, you can see it right here, number 2, right? The reason why I put it on, because I am in camp, keep Matt Ryan until the wheels fall off kind of deal, right? That's the reason why I put this jersey on before I started filming. Just so you know where my bias is, okay? Because I strongly feel like you can find numbers to support any argument that you want, right? You do enough Google searching, you dig in doing enough, you can figure it out. And you can get, you can put together a pretty solid argument. I mean, I've seen some solid arguments of why we should draft Matt Ryan's replacement this year. I've seen it. And I get it. I understand it. I'm not even totally against it, if that makes any sense. Like, what I mean by that is, like, you have cases where it worked out real well, right? You have Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. They draft Aaron Rodgers. He sits for 2-3 seasons, comes in and puts together a Hall of Fame career himself. The most recent example is Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith. You had a competitive roster. Alex Smith was coming off of multiple Pro Bowl seasons. So when you drafted Patrick Mahomes, most people are like, what are you doing? You got Alex Smith. You get rid of Alex Smith, install Patrick Mahomes, boom, bada bing, you go to the Super Bowl and win. 2 years in a row you go to the Super Bowl. So there are cases to be made with the idea of drafting a quarterback and letting him develop. Okay? That seems to be the buzz that everybody's talking about. Let's draft a quarterback now, let him sit behind Ryan for a year, and he'll come in and be an instant, ready to go. So, those are some of the things that I wanted to dig into, right? I went back as far as 2000. The reason why I went back that far, because that was the year, Tom Brady was drafted. And I figured a good 20-year window would be worth, data-wise, okay? So, in the past 20 years, 244 quarterbacks have been drafted. 244 quarterbacks have been drafted. 57 of those drafted in the first round. 21 of those drafted in the second round. Okay? So keep those numbers in mind, right? So out of the 57 drafted in the first round in the past 20 years, 32 of those have 32%, rather, which is about 18, have been quality starters. And some of those you have a tough time even making that case for right now, because you have guys that are still playing on their rookie deals that we're not 100% sure if the team's going to stick with them. A la Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So when I'm saying successful starters, I'm saying starters that have gotten another contract, be it with their team or with another team. So this is going to kind of skew the numbers, so to speak, right? In 2001, you got 2 starters were drafted, Breeze and Vic. 2003, 1 starter, Carson Palmer. Now, here you got 2004, which was an outlier because you got 3 quality starters out of that draft. First round, you have Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, and Phillip Rivers. That was in the 2004 draft. Up to that point, that had not happened. You hadn't gotten that many starters. And you hadn't gotten that many since. You had a big gap between 2004 and 2008. And then obviously in 2008, you had Joe Flacco and Matt Ryan. Past that, you had a string of, in 2009, you got Stafford. Now, he was drafted with Sam Bradford, but Bradford made a lot of money, but he wasn't a quality starter. Nobody's going to argue that. All right. In 2011, you had Cam Newton. 2014, you had Derek Carr. Now, we're going to remember Carr, okay? 2017 was the last time you got 2 starters, in my opinion. When I'm, again, qualifying that by saying the team has re-upped with these people. And that's Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. So, fast forward to 2020, you have 4 quarterbacks that are going to go in the first round. Okay, you got Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. So the idea that all 4 of them are going to be quality starters, hard for me to believe. Absolutely hard for me to believe. I mean, the numbers bear out that that's not going to be the case. At most, you're going to end up with 2 starters, right? So the first overall quarterback's taken. Now, here's another cautionary tale for the Jacksonville Jaguars down there. The first quarterback taken first overall has not really panned out all that well via history. You had Jared Goff, Jameis Winston. Now Jameis Winston's just trying to catch on with the Saints again, and Jared Goff's done been traded to Detroit. And there's no guarantee that he's going to be the starter there, that they may not take a quarterback. You see? So then you go down the list, you got Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Bradford Stafford, like Jamarcus Russell, Alex Smith, Eli Manning. He won some Super Bowls. Carson Palmer, David Carr, Michael Vick. Those are your, out of that list, Alex Smith has had a good career. Michael Vick, we all know, I mean, it's Atlanta. We all know about Vick. So, he could have had a better career, who knows. But the cautionary tale of taking a quarterback first overall doesn't pan out very well if you go back and look at the past 20 years. Now, some people will be talking about with JR, what about taking a quarterback and letting him develop? I'm not even talking about in the first round. We kind of covered that already with Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Those are your 2 major successes as far as letting a quarterback sit and develop. Let's talk about past the first round. Okay, let's talk about getting into the second and third round. Second round, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick. All those guys were taken in the second round. Jimmy Garoppolo, the jury's still out on him. He got paid by San Francisco, but given the move that San Francisco just made to jump up to 3, you don't jump up to 3 without wanting to take a quarterback. You just don't make that move, in my opinion. So that really, when San Francisco made that move to come up to 3 where the Miami was sitting, that spelled the end of Jimmy Garoppolo. Whether it's this year or next will remain to be seen, but to me, his time in San Francisco's up. So Derek Carr's had a pretty good career so far as just regular season play. Hasn't amounted to much, but you can't always put that on the quarterback, which we'll get into that here in just a minute. So that's your second round guys. Andy Dalton just got paid again by Chicago. You know, he had a pretty good career, at least, well, he was like the median line up there in Cincinnati, and then came in and showed enough in Dallas to warrant another contract from Chicago. So we'll see how that goes. Now, when you get down past the second round, you have Russell Wilson in the third. That's the only success out of the third. Then you have Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott coming out of the fourth round. Okay? Kirk Cousins, you can argue, has had a mediocre career. Period. You know, he got franchise tagged twice up in Washington because of another first round quarterback that flamed out in Robert Griffin. Okay? He got paid because of Griffin, basically. So he gets 2 franchise tags and then gets a 3-year, $85 million guaranteed contract from Minnesota, which I can almost guarantee you that after year 1, they were regretting that one. Okay? So all I'm really trying to bring to light here is that out of the 244 quarterbacks that have been drafted since 2000, 10% of them have actually done something in the league. That's a real small number, you know? So automatically assuming that these 4 quarterbacks that are coming in this draft, that all 4 of them are going to be quality starters, that's hard for me to believe. The numbers don't bear it out. I'm not trying to make a case per se that we shouldn't draft a quarterback. What I'm trying to do is show y'all that there's no guarantees in the draft, regardless of position, regardless of how good somebody plays in college. There are absolutely no guarantees that somebody's going to come in and pan out, because it's a lot to do more than just their talent. It's a lot to do with the team that's around them. If you draft a quarterback and you comes into, okay, take Joe Burrow last year up in Cincinnati. Good talent, comes into a situation where their O-line is absolutely trash, ends up blowing out his knee or his Achilles, one or the other. Has a pretty, leg injury that puts him out for the rest of the season. So, just because you're bringing a quarterback in doesn't guarantee anything. The Browns have been searching for a quarterback since that team got reinstated in the league. They hope they got one in Baker Mayfield. Now down there in Miami, they've been looking for a quarterback since Dan Marino. I mean, same thing with the Jets. The Jets have been looking for a quarterback since freaking Joe Namath. Right? So it's no guarantee. So y'all looking at this draft class and seeing these 4 stud quarterbacks and automatically assuming they're all going to come in and be solid play and solid quarterbacks, I don't see it and I don't get it. You're wanting to usher out a quarterback who is proven in this league and is still proven to play at a high level, right? I mean, last year I put up a tweet, a while back, but last year if you go back and look at the stat lines of Tom Brady and Matt Ryan, they almost mirror each other. The only difference is the sacks taken and the touchdowns thrown. And you can argue that those 2 things correlate with each other. How many times did Matt Ryan take a sack because of bad protection, kill a drive, and we don't score? Where Tom Brady had good protection, barely got sacked, and was able to put up real good numbers. So the idea of drafting a quarterback in the first round when you already have a solid, better than average former MVP is somewhat mind-boggling to me. I mean, I get it. I really do. But I think it comes down to people are just tired of the non-flashiness of Matt Ryan. Like, they see him as the button-up corporate quarterback, and they want a younger guy with a little bit more flash. I saw somebody saying on Twitter that Arthur Smith's system is also predicated on the quarterback running. Matt Ryan had 92 yards rushing last year. Ryan Tannehill had less than 50. So, if we're talking about running when you have to, running to get that first down, Matt Ryan can do that. We joke on Twitter all the time and call him, Matty Wheels, right? But that was something that he saw that he needed to do when Shanahan got here. And he worked on it, he got better at it, and he got to where he could do it. Okay? So, just sinking a first-round pick gives you no guarantee. It gives you no guarantee on any position, especially not a quarterback. There are for every success that you can give me, I can give you 4 or 5 busts. Okay? So just keep that in mind, that it's not always, a guaranteed, success about, going into the draft like that. Again, I'm not saying that the team shouldn't. I think that if the team does, it's going to tell you a lot about how they view this roster, how they view the organization, and what they feel like they're going to be able to do. The interesting thing was last year when Green Bay took Jordan Love, in the first round. They had just come off the NFC Championship game. And they went back to the NFC Championship game this year. Lost both times, but still, what did Jordan Love do to help them? Nothing. Sat on the bench. So, if you decide to draft a quarterback this year in the first round at pick number 4, then that signals, flat out, that signals the end of Matt Ryan. Like whether it's this season, next season, whatever. And I hope that the scouting department does their homework, because you're asking a college kid to come in and be as solid and productive as Matt Ryan has been for the past, since 2008. So that's a tall task. Obviously, as I said before, I'm showing you my bias with my Matt Ryan jersey on. That's something I want y'all to keep in mind when you're interacting with people on Twitter, guys like myself on YouTube or whatever. Figure out what their bias is. Figure out where their stance is. Because you can make the numbers say what you wanted to say, basically. Like I can continue to hammer in home a 10% success rate in the past 20 years on quarterbacks. So that's a big deal to me. Anyway, that's what I got for y'all this week. Appreciate y'all letting me take over the think tank for a minute. Appreciate you letting me get it there, Toby. We're going to have probably not a live show this Wednesday with the Easter season coming up. We got stuff doing with the families, so probably, like I said, I won't have a live show this Wednesday. We will have something for you. I'm just not 100% sure what just yet. But appreciate the time. As always, you can follow me on Twitter, Grim1128. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.